kind of give you a little bit of a backset of how we got where we're at right now, where we drove 5.5 hours down to Oklahoma, where we only know maybe a handful of people here to present on rabbits. We're not necessarily the rabbit, masters. However, it all started with my daughter having a passion for learning about basically animal husbandry. And so, as good parents, or parents, my wife, encouraged me to try to encourage my daughter in whatever interest she has. And of course, this was something that was non-screen related, and so I was all about that. And I also had kind of a country town and rural upbringing, so hunting rabbits and squirrels, that was kind of what I knew. And so I enjoyed the way that the small animals taste in a crock pot with brown gravy.
Right.
Kind of one of my warm and fuzzy moments as a kid. So it was kind of a natural progression for us to kind of get into that. It, of course, starts where everything starts, is the gateway animals, chickens. So we had a bunch of chickens. We were living in the city. How many did we have before we left? Okay, we had 30 in the city of St. Louis. And I don't know if you guys know the health ordinance there, but that's way too many. And as a matter of fact, I think we had 4 or 5 roosters too. So I mean, we were really pushing the envelope. The funny thing, how God operates in His timing, is that we decided that we finally needed to get them out of the city. And so when we finally do get them to our property, the next day the health department goes knocking on the door. We hear you have chickens in your backyard. Well, as a matter of fact, today we do not. So we got that narrow miss there. But again, it has kind of progressed. Chickens are a really easy animal, as you guys were listening to. You got to hear the first presentation there. And rabbits are, I'd say, a second seat, barely. Okay, meaning as rabbits are really, really easy. And, not to mention they're cute. And so as soon as you can get past the idea that you keep the parents for pets and eat the babies, then everything's going to be good. And so that was something I had to sell our kids on early on. And as you know, now I have 10 kids.
Yeah, they still actually play with the baby kennels. Just saying. They don't care about them whenever they get to that big age. So.
But I do have a teenage boy who grabs them and is like, look how tasty this one would be, you know what I mean? And so that's just his nature, of course, right? Or boy's nature. So anyway, so we are here today to kind of give you some of the ins and outs. We are not the end-all be-all for rabbit husbandry, but we'll tell you what we've learned, and of course we'll keep building on that, and maybe we'll keep coming back and talking about it or whatever. So Bella, how did we decide why do we have this rabbit specifically? Why did we choose this and not like a Flemish giant?
Yeah, so we actually decided to start with the New Zealand rabbits because we did a bunch of research, and they are actually the top chosen meat breed. They're also very readily available. You can find them around the country, around the world. So we went with those. So I'm not going to bore you to death with all the different breeds because if it is a big rabbit, generally they can be used for meat. You can look up a bunch of, but I just say whatever's in your area, go for it. So we're going to start with choosing your breeders. What to look for. You're going to want.
So when you say breeders, you mean like your buck and your doe?
Yeah.
Right?
So
okay,
a lot
buck
of
and a
people
doe is
ask,
just like deer,
right.
Male and female. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So a lot of people ask how many breeding rabbits should I start with. I would say how many babies do you want? So generally 2 females and 1 male is significant for our large family, and we're breeding them on a regular basis. You don't have to breed them as often as we do, which means you have less babies, essentially.
But we do give them a summer break. They
Yeah.
get the summer vacation. Because of the heat. We live into that.
Okay, so qualities, when you're picking your rabbits out, if you can't see them, like if you can't go in person and see them, I would a little shy away from that because you really want a healthy rabbit. So we're going to look for an overall healthy appearance. You want clean and clear eyes, nose, and mouth. And then, coat, nice, good coat. When you
Not
grab the
matted or
rabbit,
sticky,
yep.
but yeah, shiny.
When you grab the rabbit, if you can handle them or have a helper, flip them over, and you're going to want to check the bottom area for no paleness, swelling, or especially on the males, make sure they have 2 testicles. Because a lot of people run into that issue, and make sure nothing's shriveled up. So the last thing is make sure you're getting the gender you want. You don't want to buy a male and then find out it's a female. So just saying, there's lots of YouTube videos out there on telling the gender. Very, very easy. You can figure it out yourself. All right.
But isn't it easy to like make a mistake doing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
So you said it's very, very easy.
Yes,
But it's very, very
guarantee
easy
before you
to
go
make a
home.
mistake. So help me out on that. What are the things that you're looking for identification?
Yeah, so generally, as long as the rabbits are 3 plus weeks, it's pretty easy to tell the gender. I can tell as young as 1. I don't know many people that can. Apparently I can. So let's just go with that.
Got a good thing.
But, okay, so for the males, you're going to look for a circle, right? And then the females, a sliver, and you want the sliver to pretty much always be a darker red. We'll get more into breeding and their heat cycles, if you will. And then last I want you to ask is, why are they selling the rabbits? That is a very important part.
Like anything else. We
If
saw a
they're,
truck. I'm sorry, I'm stealing this. We saw a truck on the way here. She's like, look at that truck. Literally, it was like 10 foot tall. It was a Dodge Dakota, and the tires were like, if they weren't bouncing off the bottom of the bed, they were really, really close. And so I was just saying, hey, that's really good to know if you go to buy that truck, why he's getting rid of it, because he just blew out the suspension on it. So, sorry. I'm a story guy. Try to be funny, but I don't always make it.
all right, so if they're selling the rabbits because they can't breed, absolutely just don't, unless you're a professional, deal with those rabbits. If they can't breed, you probably can't make them breed either. Also, not to stop, but you want to also run your hand down the rabbit. So it should feel a nice, even, you should feel the bones. You want to feel the bones, otherwise the rabbit's fat. And if it's fat, it won't breed. So you can buy a fat rabbit, but you need to like take that into consideration that you're gonna have to take a month to put it on a diet, like I said. So if they are getting fed too much pellets, it will cause that. And if you can't breed your rabbit, it's probably because it's fat, 90% of the time. Also, if they are too skinny, you're going to really feel the bones, they're going to stick out. Again, you can buy those rabbits, you'll need to put it on more feed. So just depending on, do you want to breed right now, or do you want to deal with a rabbit that may have a slight issue? If they're selling the rabbits because they're older, generally rabbits breed for good production for 3 to 4 years. They can breed longer, 5 to 6, but generally I like to, save some babies and then just kind of recycle them every few years. All right, so when to breed, females can breed as early as 8 weeks. So be mindful when you're keeping your rabbits together that you don't want them to breed at 8 weeks. The ideal time to breed your females is 5 months, give or take, depending on the rabbit. Males, it's 6 months. And when you're also, side note, keeping your rabbits together, when you're going to be butchering them, don't worry about separating gender, because you will be butchering before 3 to 4, or at 3 to 4 months of age. So a male can't breed until 4 months. Absolutely cannot breed before 4 months. So you are safe keeping your females with your males for that butchering time. So you can mix genders. Also, seasonal breeding is very important. We have found through mistakes not to breed into the summer. Rabbits are very heat sensitive, so we actually brought 2 just in case one died for tomorrow's butchering, because that's how sensitive they are to heat. We will actually throw frozen water bottles in with them and then switch them out as they thaw. You can do ice, fans, depending on your humidity level, misting fans. But you want to make sure that you don't breed in the summer, because a rabbit's more likely to die pregnant than not. And I did sadly lose a female because of that. Very sad. She was a week out.
Yeah, so rabbits are really tolerant of cold.
Yes. Yeah, you can breed in the cold all day long, but we like to take a summer break. So my last breeding, she gave birth a month ago. So that was my last, what is it? It's May.
June today.
So May was my last breeding, and then we'll be taking summer break until I'll probably breed sometime in earlier September. So just to take
About
that
the time
into
frame for gestation.
yeah, I'm kidding. Also, if your rabbit isn't healthy, you may have an issue. We'll just go through the issues of breeding while we're here. So like I said, fat rabbits won't breed, and skinny rabbits mostly won't breed. There are those chances that they will. Generally, they won't. So, yeah, just make sure you keep them on the diet. We'll cover the feed later. And also, yeah, so then moving into breeding. When to breed, like we said, try to stick to those spring and fall months through winter. Then gestation period for rabbits is 31 days, almost to the day. My rabbits generally go on exactly 31 days, 1 month after. So you can pretty much plan exactly when you want a rabbit, like 5 days of the week to have babies, which is really nice. So,
Can you explain why we care about 31 days in the spring and why we breed at a certain time? Just why they might do this?
yeah, we do sell one litter a year to paper feed. We found that people only buy, in our case, in our area, buy rabbits in the spring. Who knows why? I like to buy my rabbits in the fall, but
I think it's coming out of winter and having that spring fever, and you're like, okay, new life, I'm going to do all these things I've never done before.
So yeah, when we'll try to breed, if we want to sell Easter bunnies or sell rabbits for breeding, I mostly just sell breed rabbits, then we'll try to breed in the beginning of January. 1 month later, they'll have their babies, and then after their weaning age, we'll sell them. Yeah, so breeding a rabbit, very easy, takes about 5 minutes at this point to breed, very fast. So you're going to take your female and bring it to the male's cage. Never, ever bring the male to the female. Females are territorial, and they might just kill your butt.
He'll get beat up.
Like, just saying, put that out there, they might kill him. So always bring your female to the male, something that you should never ever mix up. Yeah, so breed them, bring them to. I like to pull the water out and feed if you have open bowls, just because I like to make a mess when they chase each other. So once you put them in, the first time breeding rabbits generally takes longer, and mine that I've been breeding for now for a while, I put them in there and they chase each other once, the buck will mount them, and then we'll do like like a tapping of the cage, and so you'll hear the cage rattle, and then they'll do a fall off, they squeal, grunt, and they'll fall straight backwards. So that means a successful breed. I generally try to shoot for 2 to 3 fall offs. Some people argue about 2 gets you 2 or 3, depending on like if they'll get you more babies or not. I have not found that the case. So like saving time, let's just do 2. So I don't have to stand there longer. After they breed, you're just going to take them out, put them back in the cage, and mark it on your calendar, because lately I had a chick hatch yesterday, and I did mark it on the calendar. Apparently I had a breeding hen that hatched chicks yesterday, so mark it on the calendar so you know when you're going to have baby rabbits. Now, for beginner breeding rabbits, if they won't breed, if the female will not sit still for the male to mount him, or mount her, then I've had to hold the female's head before. Sometimes I've even had to lift her back up, just when she needs help. So just try to, and then the males often get confused and try to mount the head. So help the male, make it get to the other end. And then, yeah, so generally, so you may have to intervene the first time, just to make sure the female is actually holding still. And yeah, so how often do you breed? We're looking at, we do a medium breeding program. Of course, there's production levels for everything out there. And you can breed your rabbit every few weeks. Don't recommend that because then you'll have to replace your breeders, they'll wear out.
Yeah, it takes a lot out of her body.
Yeah, so we like to keep our rabbits around. So we choose to breed, so let's say you bred on the 1st of May. The rabbits had babies in June. That's because that's summer. Okay.
Go back a month. April,
Yeah.
May.
Okay, let's say you bred in April, and then they had babies in May, which is my case. Then you're going to wait till the babies are 4 to 5 weeks old. Longer. This is our program. So 4 to 5 weeks old, you're going to bring the female back to the male, even though she has nursing babies, and then she's going to be pregnant for another month.
So here, this is a good time to interject where you said you're going to come back earlier. So you said, how can you tell maybe when she's like?
Yeah. Oh, I did say that. Sorry.
I'm here for you.
Yeah, to pause. When there are debates on whether rabbits actually have heat cycles or not. Debated topic. So some people say they have 3 days on, 1 day off. Some people say they're always in cycle. I don't want to waste my time and wait 31 days to find out if they were pregnant or not. So I choose to flip my female over, and I'm going to check again that bottom area, and I'm looking for dark red or purple. Purple's ideal. Sometimes if they're slightly pink, I'm going to wait a day and then check her. But it's definitely worth not wasting your time.
Can I interrupt again? Because I'm really good at this. So one of the things about the food, so for our breeders, they get organic pellets. Like it's usually higher quality. It's on the list, never mind.
All right, so what was I
Segue, go ahead.
meaning? Okay, so when you 4 to 5 weeks after you when the babies are 4 to 5 weeks old and you've bred 4 to 6 weeks, you've bred. Let's say you bred at 5 weeks. 2 weeks later, at 7 to 8 weeks, you're going to wean them. I personally wean at 7 because my babies do really good. Then 2 weeks later, she has a 2-week break to dry up, and then she has babies. So she has full 2 weeks to get back to her state that she needs to be at. We've had great success with our breeders doing that program, breeding and then waiting to have the babies, and then 4 to 5 weeks later she has the babies, or 4 to 5 weeks later you rebreed them, wean the babies at 7 to 8, and then she has more babies.
Again, noting that we take months off in the summer
Yes.
and months off in the winter.
Yes, you
so
really
this
have to
isn't
be
a constant
careful of,
cycle. It's just a spring and fall breeding.
Because of our schedule with everything else at our house, we actually were a little late to breed our females. So I am pushing it. I'm just going to make sure they have fans and make sure they have water bottles because I just had babies and she's looking pretty hot. So just don't want to lose her because she is an awesome mom. So.
Okay, hold on. Is there on your list, does it talk about where to keep them as far as shade and stuff? Okay, just that would be another question.
All right.
How she puts up with me, I don't know. Oh wait, she has to.
Yeah.
Around the 2 years
You're
anyway.
paying gas. Pregnancy. When
Just the facts.
like I said, pregnancy is very hard on rabbits, especially in the summer. Made that mistake before. Don't breed your rabbits in the summer.
Does everybody get that?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Sorry, I just really want to put that up there since not a lot of people want to know. Okay, pregnancy. If your rabbit suddenly turns aggressive after you bred her, she's most likely pregnant. We had one person buy rabbits, bred the rabbits, got aggressive, butchered the rabbit because he was aggressive, found out had babies. That was a big mistake. So wait 35 days to butcher it if you're really not wanting that rabbit.
Right, so what
Yeah.
did we butcher yesterday? An aggressive mom. But she wasn't pregnant.
She wasn't pregnant. She was
No,
mean.
we made
No,
sure
she
she
was
had
just
her.
flat out mean.
Again, part of
Sorry.
being, I don't know, what is our position? Husband, I guess? Of the animals. You're doing husbandry here. I don't know how that works. Hold me aside and tell me later. So part of doing that is selecting your breeders for what you are desiring. So we want docile, mostly friendly. I mean, there's a nature to the animal
Yeah,
for
if you
sure.
handle them from the beginning, you're almost guaranteed
Right.
their niceness. Which I don't necessarily go in and hold my rabbits every day, so I need them to be nice enough that I can walk 20 feet to the male's cage and put it in.
Right.
Like, I don't want it tearing me up like it did yesterday. when we
Plus,
were-
we have a fairly busy farm as far as people, a homestead. People are coming over pretty regularly, and ponies are kind of a popular stock. And so everybody likes to pet them, and so of course you don't want them to get tore up.
Back to pregnancy. sorry, I'm gonna like nag you about this.
It's okay.
Okay, so another thing, yeah, lots of, if you're doing warmer months, if it's above 85, above 80 to 85, put a fan, water bottles, whatever. Don't recommend bringing the rabbits in. I know a lot of people do this. I don't recommend bringing them into the AC during the day and then putting them back out because it's just a big shock. They are designed to be out here. This is one of the breeds that is the highest heat tolerant. Doesn't mean that they can handle it because in the woods they dig holes. Hence we had
what we chose again.
rabbits brought out. Yeah, these are New Zealand rabbits, by the way, which also would go with Californian. So just a touch on that. Yeah. And, okay, so, yeah, for the heat, or for the pregnancy again, the feed is normal, which we're going to be talking about feed right after this. But, yeah, so when they're a week to 2 weeks until they're going to have their babies, you're going to want to increase the feed just a little bit so they can build up their milk supply due to having babies. And, okay, so once they have babies, or nesting box, I need to read my list. The nesting box. So put your nesting box in. Like I said, everybody rabbit's different. So to be safe, put in 28 days after you've bred your rabbits. Because I know my rabbits will have them on the exact 31st day, I put mine in on the 30th. Just because it's easier. But
can I interrupt just for a second? So she's going through a lot of information, and actually we have a clip over here if you want to ask questions. Like if you don't think of it
so you
right
can
now,
put your
email it to us. We'll get back to you. We'll try to answer as directly as possible, or if you have any questions about any resources we use otherwise. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep. All right. So once you put the nesting box in, a nesting box is about as literal as it sounds. It's like a chicken box. You can look up what a rabbit nesting box looks like exactly. We actually built ours, and because we have larger breeds, we built it for the medium to large rabbits. So you just want enough space so your female can jump in there and pull hair and make her nest. We put it in, like I said, I like to give them a little bit of help, so I'll stuff, because we are not buying straw. People do straw, but we don't, whatever, who cares? We stuff hay in the nesting box. As long as the mom has hay, she doesn't eat it all. So we'll stick that nesting box in, half full of hay, and then I'll put a huge handful in there because she doesn't care if I made it perfect, she has to make it better. So she's gonna pull my stuff out or rearrange it, they cut it up and they'll make it perfect. If you have a new mom, a lot of times they won't do this and you might have to help them out. Then one sign that you know they're going to have babies within the day or second day of, they're gonna start pulling hair. And pulling hair is like literal, they'll like cover the cage with fur if they're not a good mom. And if they're good, they're gonna stuff it all in the nesting box. So they generally pull from their chest and their sides, and they'll pull down to their skin, which is nice in the summer because they want to get it off. So they're gonna pull it in, put it in, and like I said, depending on your breeding rabbit, they're gonna either be a good breeder or not, depending on their nesting job. Then you'll kind of have to help them out with that. Yes, so then check after they pull the hairs and put it in. You're going to want to check the breeding rabbit or the nesting box every day just to make sure there's babies, especially in those extreme temperatures of winter. And in winter, because we have open cages with shade block, we do try to put like covering on the sides that don't have immediate wind block because babies are born without fur, so they need a little bit of help there. Once your rabbit has babies, depending, like I said, if you have a new breeder, they might have babies on the wire floor, so you want to be in there checking all the time, especially new rabbits, because they might have them on the wire, and if you don't catch them in time, they could freeze in the winter. In the summer, they might be okay, but then
even in the fall when it's cold at night.
Yeah, so I would, if it's a new mom and you're not sure about them, just, check, and if babies are on the floor, no, it's not true that rabbits will abandon their babies if you touch them. So feel free to pick those babies up and stick them in. And if you, in that case, I like to count them. I usually wait to count for a couple days just to make sure the babies are doing good. But once they're born and they're in the nesting box, they seem to be doing good. If you watch your mom, she's probably not going to go in the nesting box, hardly ever, because they only feed 2 to 3 times a day at night. So I have rarely seen my mom actually feeding the babies, even though I've been raising rabbits for a while. So, yeah.
So the
So if
rabbits
you're
are normally
concerned-
nocturnal, right?
Yeah, they are. Which we were up this morning doing things, and I was like, "Hi, rabbits!" They're all like scrambling around because they want to be fed. But so yeah.
What about putting rabbits on grass? Because grass is pretty cheap right now. It's on the list?
I'm
What
working
were you
it.
talking about?
Breeding, weaning, feeding,
Okay, all right.
housing, butchering.
Back my hole.
Just look at the list, it's right there. Yeah, I did put a list for myself and for mostly him.
How busy driving here?
Okay, so the babies are in. We'll give them a day to adjust. And if you do see a little bloody clump, that is probably her placenta. They usually eat that, sometimes they don't. If they don't, you can just pinch it. And our chickens like it. So we just do
Somebody will
that.
eat it.
Yeah. They're nursing, but she only, like I said, goes in there 2 to 3 times a day at night. So if you happen to be up at night and you see her in there, she's nursing. As they get older, they'll nurse more, and the babies will demand to nurse. So. All right, we're running out of time. I should be checking my watch. Okay, so yeah, babies are in there, and very important after you have the babies and after they're in there that you check them every single day, especially for the first week, because it is very common to lose baby bunnies, even have stillborn. It is crazy common. So don't be afraid if there's 1 or 2 or even 4 dead. Very common.
We've been very fortunate.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate. I feel like it's our rabbits, but we've in the past had some that lose up to like 3 a litter. So just be in there, checking them, feel all the babies to make sure they're good. And then if you see any that didn't make it, just pull them out so you don't attract flies, especially in these summer months. Okay, and then yeah, keep checking the babies. After about 2 to 3 weeks, you're gonna want to check the bedding because that's their litter box essentially. And if it's really nasty, I like to just dump it all. I'll keep some of because they're only a little bit old, I'll keep some of the fur to put back in there, and then I'll just put fresh bedding in, throw it out.
So for you gardeners, you guys probably already know that rabbit manure is cold and you put right on it, and it's probably gold for most gardeners ever. My mom
it's like
actually
the
tried to ask
number
for some, and I
one.
said, no way, ma'am. I'll let people buy you some, though.
Yeah, it is the number 1 manure used, best manure for gardens. So if you're collecting your rabbit
So
manure,
yeah, think about that from a design aspect. We have hutches where trays underneath. You can get those little Rubbermaid trays
yeah.
similar to
All right, I'm
the
gonna
ones in the
try
bottom
to
grate.
fly
Keep
through
going.
this. Okay, so your baby should be good. Like I said, keep checking them, especially in the winter months. And if the mom isn't feeding them, I've never had that, but if it isn't, then you're gonna have to look more into that because I've never personally had that. And you might have to bottle raise it, but I can almost guarantee you just don't see the mom feeding them. She's actually really feeding them in there. So after the babies are about 2 to 3 weeks old, they're gonna start jumping out of the box. And they don't mean to, but they do. So I like to just pick them up and pop them back in and say, sorry, it's not your time. At about 3.5 to 4 weeks, then they can actually fully, once you see them jumping in and out, they can jump in and out. That's not an issue. So yeah, generally after that, they're good. Then weaning, we wean at 7 to 8 weeks, depending on our schedule, just because we have a lot of things going on. And then rebreeding, like you said, you can rebreed at 4 to 5 weeks of the baby's age. Or you can wait. If you don't want to rebreed, then just wait. If you want to rebreed in a month because it's your schedule, you can rebreed then. It's totally up to you. Yeah, we wean, and you can wean as late as depending on your cage, 4 months. They can stay with them until they start deciding we don't like you.
Decision depends on do you have space for them to go.
Yeah.
It's
So
like,
it's
okay, now we're
always-
gonna
yeah,
create
it's pretty
space.
much all
All right,
in.
new project.
Okay, feeding. So for your breeding rabbits, and we're gonna assume they're the New Zealand rabbits because I can't go through all the breeds. So the New Zealand rabbits are about 9 to 12 pounds. Mine personally are 10 to 11 pounds each. So they get about a cup to a cup and a half on a breeding, or half a cup to a cup on a breeding weight. like I said, if you have a fat rabbit, then just feed them half a cup and lots of hay. Because the pellets, we're talking about pellets here. Rabbit pellets are designed to, increase weight or maintain weight.
Real quick, we take bags and we have a scale similar to one you would use for fishing. You can get it, from any
Yeah, if you want to
online
weigh your
distributor pretty
rabbit.
cheap.
Right. Which I kind of go by if they cleaned it up. So you can feed any time of the day. We feed in the morning, and then sometime in the afternoon. I'm expecting they're going to clean. If they have rabbit food the next morning, you're feeding them too much, or there's something wrong. So just check them out. And we also give them lots of hay. Any quality of hay is fine as long as they'll eat it. So we're trying to mainly keep them on hay and just do maintaining feed. For the weaned babies, depending on if you're selling them, then you don't have to feed them as much, but if you're butchering them especially, just give them as much feed as they need, because you're just trying to bring them up to that weight. So one thing is that when you're feeding greens to your rabbits, don't feed greens to your babies until they are around 6
greens,
weeks
because
old.
greens and grains sound a lot.
Yeah,
Somebody was
green
hearing
things,
from.
so
So you're talking
like
about
grass,
green things, grass.
lettuce.
Okay, all right, thank you.
that type of things, because rabbits can get diarrhea from that. Like probably about, I would do before 5 or 6 weeks, just about. If you slowly introduce it, it's fine. Just don't dump a bunch on them, because their digestive system can't
Like
handle it.
anything else, you change the diet of something and then...
Right, okay, so then feeding nursing mothers, we said that as long as they have babies with them and they're nursing, they get as much as they want. Because they are lactating at this point, so they just need all the nutrients they can get, and we provide plenty of hay with that, and our breeding rabbits get a limited amount. If your rabbit is skinny, you can feed it more pellets to boost it up, but generally found a half a cup to a cup, good. Some of our very big ones get a cup and a half. So then housing. We house our breeding rabbits in all wire cages that we built ourselves. You can find plans, or you can
They're
just
like 1 inch by 1 inch square.
yeah. So we just went to the store and bought like little bitty square stuff and the
We put them
clips.
all together, little pieces.
So
No,
for
they were 3 feet wide.
no,
It was
for
a
the
roll.
space, for these larger breeds, we're going to do, if you have a mom with babies, a minimum of 3 by 4 or 3 by 3 foot cage. No smaller than 3 by 3, because again, they're going to be raising babies up to that 7 to 8 week, and it'll get cramped. Personally, we do 3 by 4 foot cages all around by 2 foot tall, just to add that in
You go
there.
bigger too.
Yep. And then for a male, if you have a breeding male or a single breeding rabbit, and you don't want to build huge cages, then 2 foot by 3 foot is adequate, no smaller. So for these breeds, they can do that size, but if they have a bunch of babies with them, we prefer the larger ones. Another option that we do, especially for our growing out rabbits, is we do rabbit tractors, which essentially is a mobile cage of some sort. There's all different kinds, all different plans. We based our new ones we're actually upgrading off of the ones Joel Salatin used, which I've tried other ones, and I have come back to that one. So, yeah, so these, do not, just saying if you want to learn from our mistakes, don't use ones without a bottom, because the rabbits will eventually
Unless
dig
you
out.
like to get your
And we're
exercise by
still
chasing
catching
rabbits.
rabbits, believe it or not, from months ago.
Yes.
So
They keep
yeah,
popping up
use
from nowhere.
slats. Wire, we've tried using wire at the bottom. If it is slightly bigger, tend to get their feet caught in it when you're moving it. So
And we've had an accident where we had to put down the rabbit.
yeah, because it got caught and we didn't know it. So we
That's-
like using
that's a bad day.
little wooden slats going all around about this far apart, probably about
2 inches.
2 inches apart, so they can't dig under,
They
but
get
they ride on
they
top.
wanna go for a ride while you move.
Yeah, so housing, and then for feed for those rabbits, depending on how many rabbits per cage we're doing, I think we just said we're doing 4 by 8 cages, and
4
we're
foot by
gonna
8
put,
foot by 2 foot tall.
I think we said we're gonna put like,
7 or 8. I thought.
yeah, like maybe 6 or 8 rabbits per cage.
Whatever she says.
And then depending on how much grass we have, if you want to do 100% grass, which is a cheaper way to do it, They also raise out really good on that.
They do.
Let's say 6 rabbits per that cage. Move them morning and evening, and then they'll constantly get fresh grass. And if you don't want to have to move them that much, you can feed pellets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we're robbing that
Go.
30-minute break in between.
Yeah.
You better know.
No, we don't. Never mind. All right.
It's been stolen back.
Okay,
So let's wrap it up right now.
Housing. Last thing I wanted to mention was the butchering. You butcher at 5 to 6 pounds and 3 to 4 months of age, depending on which one you want to hit in your schedule.
Right.
And tomorrow at 12:30, we are doing a live butchering demonstration. So, yeah, come if you want to get more about the butchering side of things and raising the rabbits for that purpose.
And again, please come up, and if you want us to email you some specific things.
Yeah, so we will
shoot us a
eventually
question.
be sending out,
We'll send a summary email,
yeah,
thanks.
of this talk and everything, so you
What is
can
it
put
that we
that
can do to
out.
help you?
Put your email down, and then we'll get that to you.
That's it. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.